Welcome to Soccer's In Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente for all that is you. John here, and we're going to take you through the last live Soccer's In Session for 2024. Thanks for hanging out with us here during this sprint that has been the playoffs. We got the 7A matches tonight. We'll catch up with one of the four coaches whose team's going to be playing in just a little bit after our first guest. And our first guest has already won a state championship. And for this, we go to Columbus, catch up with Coach Torres. Coach, congratulations. Has your phone stopped blowing up?
Thank you, John. No, it hasn't. Actually, I just received a text message right now from somebody else. So it hasn't. And I think that's truly a blessing. And we're just happy to have the support from all over, back from home, childhood friends, family, parents, alumni, everybody just saying, congratulations. And that's just amazing to see.
Well, and I mean, when the last time you were on, we were kind of setting up the matchup against Hebron Christian, but you had ties to Atkinson County, and you were going to be making trips. You're going to be making trips to Macon from Columbus, and with Keatron, with your team that you're coaching. I mean, you had it a little busier than the average Bear. First, let me ask you this. What have you thought about what ATCO has been able to do here over the last couple of seasons?
It's amazing what they've done. The Atkinson County, Pearson is such a small community, such a small town. They're kind of removed from a lot of these resources that we have here in Columbus. So for me, when I got here, that was it was incredible eye-opening that something like the soccer community here exists, right? But Pearson is just so removed from it. So to see what they've been able to accomplish with the resources that they have, it just speaks volumes of the people there, the community, the passion for the game. And they're just fighters, and I couldn't be more proud of them. I was pulling for them and wanted them to win the first state championship. Like I said before, I was there when they first started the program, and that's where I started. I started as a volunteer there right after graduation. In college, I had family there and go to them with the games and whatnot. So it would have been really nice for them to win. But GMC is a great program too. I know Coach Bobby up there as well, and I'm happy for him that he got the chance to win another one. But yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm really proud of what the boys at ATCO are doing.
What did you? Was there anything that you took, whether emotionally or what have you, from watching the ATCO GMC match that you carried back with you to Columbus to help you get ready for the championship game against Hebron Christian, or were you just there as a fan and trying to detach for a little bit?
No, I think when I went into it, I didn't really see it that way. I was just going as a fan and kind of supporting, like I said, the community. But going into the Hebron game, I think I did feel a little bit of responsibility maybe to try to bring something back to ATCO because, I am from there. That's home. My parents live there. I'll be down there this weekend. And so I felt, like if I could do it, with the program here in Columbus, then I see it as a win for ATCO too, because like I said, the community we're just so close knit, and everybody down there that I've talked to, they're just so happy for me for being able to do what I've done here. And so, yeah, I think unintentionally it became a little bit of I've got to do this for home as well.
What they have started doing there is making sure that the soccer players were active in other varsity sports on campus, and they've kind of gravitated. They've made sure that with the cross country connection, players were soccer players and they were involved with cross country. With your time there at Columbus, were you the same kind of coach where you encouraged more than just one sport, or what was your approach there at Columbus with more than one sport, or just stay locked into soccer?
No, I encouraged it. I think being a multi-sport athlete, especially at, the younger ages, freshmen, sophomores, I think it's important. They get to see different coaching styles. They get to, develop different muscles, right? And it is important in my opinion. But here it's a little bit challenging just because like a lot of the guys on the team here, they're playing at a very high level, ECNL levels. They're playing in Birmingham. They're playing in Atlanta. So that takes away from what they could do in the fall, right? Football or track or cross country. And so their focus is just soccer. It's just their whole life is soccer. And so it is a little bit more difficult, but for me, as long as they're staying active and they're being smart about, not becoming too overloaded with a lot of different activities, it's good.
Let's go through the Hebron Christian match and walk us through it for those that didn't get the chance to be there in person or see it on the NFHS network. Now that you've had a couple of days to kind of sit back and look at it, I guess from a detached point of view, what are some of your takeaways from the match in and of itself?
I think it was pretty much what we expected. I think the pressure got to us a little bit there in the middle of like the first half, and then Hebron just kind of, they sensed that, I think, and we were up 1-0, but they were the ones that were dominating the first half. I guess the second part of the first half after we scored early, and we had a couple more chances after that, but then they just took it to us and put the high pressure on us. But yeah, I mean, it was a match pretty much like what we expected. We knew that it was going to come down to the boys just staying focused. I think I even said this the last time I was here. They needed to understand that the game is 100 minutes and PKs, if that's what it comes down to. And we talked about that in the locker room. We can't be in a situation where we're down or we're tied and we freak out because we should be winning. And I think that was what proved to be true. We were up, they tied it up, and they were dominant and for a big part of that game. And we were just able to pull through in overtime.
Ray Torres going out of champ as head coach at Columbus, going back over Columbus and Hebron Christian here for us on Soccer's in Session live on the SDH network. You look at 17-3-2, you blew through region at 5-0, ranked top 25, say 21, depending on the poll for the state of Georgia, depending on which one you look at. And you get to see how things have grown there in Columbus. In your tenure there, what's it been like to see things continue to grow and evolve to this point at Columbus High?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. Columbus High, there's always been a strong program here. There's been other strong programs in Columbus and at other schools. But since I've been here, the biggest thing that I've noticed is just the exposure. I think has been massive in terms of, social media obviously is grown in itself just in the time that I've been here, almost a decade now. But taking advantage of that really helps create a product that markets itself and attracts talent. And then just the community getting behind us here, the school, right? I mean, we had two Spirit buses full of students. We had over 150 people make the drive up there. And so that wouldn't have been the case, maybe even 5 years ago. And it's a testament really to the players as well, because they go out and they support other sports and they have friends and that play whatever, and they're always there. It's just such a tight knit community. So the growth, just being able to witness that, it's been incredible as well.
Jason Galt, head coach of the West Forsyth girls, getting ready for their matchup in Buford. He's going to be coming up in a couple of minutes here on In Session Live. How different a coach are you from the time that you walked in the door there at Columbus to now as you're exiting a champ? How different a coach are you?
Yeah, very different. So when I got the job here at Columbus, I had just graduated college. And like I said, the only experience that I had was in ATCO. I think I did 1 year as just a volunteer, just kind of helping set cones down. And I had such a passion for the game. I thought I knew everything. But now it's kind of the opposite. I don't feel like I know enough, right? So when I first started, I was like, I know everything about soccer. I played it all my life. And it was challenging. I had to like self-teach. I didn't get the chance to play at a high level when I was down in ATCO. Like I said, I didn't even play high school ball because we didn't have it when I was in high school. I didn't play club. I didn't play college. So I didn't have exposure to what it was like to be coached by anyone, right? And so I had to learn what it was like to be a coach and what were the methodologies, how to build these relationships. And now when I look back at everything that I was able to accomplish, it's just incredible. To me, I'm really proud of where I am now. I'm really proud of what I've accomplished here. And I'm really happy that I had the support here, right? The principal here at the time that hired me was Marvin Crumbs, who's at Marietta High School now. And he believed in me. I remember that interview with him, and he just asked me, he's like, "Do you like soccer?" And I told him I love soccer. And he was like, "Hey, I think you're the right guy for the job." And and he offered me the job. Again, fresh out of college, no experience in the classroom, no experience as a coach. So that really is incredible when I look back at it.
Now that this particular chapter is closed, let me ask you this. You end up with seniors that are leaving. You have upperclassmen that are going to be turning into seniors. For those that might not have been catching the show as we've gone here, when I do the American football coverage in the fall, there's a feature that we do at Georgia Public Broadcasting called Make That Kid an Offer. And it has to do with an individual that is too whatever, coaches may sit there and go, you're too small. You don't have enough this, you don't have enough that. They're overlooked for whatever reason, and they're just not getting the attention that you think they deserve. They might be heading to the next level. They might not be getting the looks that you think that they would be deserving. Who do you think there on that Columbus roster would fit in the Make That Kid an Offer category for being too whatever? They're not getting the looks you think they deserve, or they're just not getting looks, period. Who do you think would fit in that category?
Without a doubt, from the kids that are still here, that'll be here next year, Ryan Collins. He's a junior, goalkeeper, and without a doubt, he needs to be getting offers from everywhere in the country right now. Anybody that watched that game knows that this kid is the real deal. I mean, in goal and like the saves that he made some saves that, I know that he could make those saves because I've seen him make them before. But if you're a first-time watcher and you've never seen the kid play, you're like, where did that come from? And that's in goal. And I don't know if I said this last time, but the kid was playing striker for us all season. He went back in goal during the playoffs, at the start of the playoffs. When he was playing striker on the field, he played, I believe it was 17 games, scored 26 goals. So the kid he's just an athlete. And he's got everything that you would want in a goalkeeper at the next level. So anybody that's listening, hey, reach out. Ryan Collins is the guy that you want from Columbus High School at wherever you are next year.
And he is the one who is between the sticks that helped Columbus get a state championship class AAA boys. Their head coach, who is leaving the Columbus program as a champ, Ray Torres. Great to catch up with you all season long, Coach. We'll be following you next year as well, because as we all know, the season starts right now as you get ready for 2025. Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us here on In Session. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, that's one coach down. And so that means we go to the next coach, and he's playing today. Well, his players are playing today. He's coaching today. And so for this one, we go to West Forsyth. Catch up with Jason Galt. Coach, thanks for dropping by. I know that you got meals at like 1 o'clock and so on, but thanks for dropping by and hanging out with us here. Oh, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. Yeah, on your end. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, we're good to go. We have virtual week this week, so I don't have kids. So I'm sitting in my class. It's made this week go by really, really slow.
I was gonna say, with virtual, I mean, yeah. That's kind of a different way to go about things this week. Where if you're a teacher, you're hoping that your classes are going to be there. What's it like teaching virtually? What's that like?
Well, I mean, for us, the main reason we do it is for testing purposes. Yeah. So this is AP testing going on. Last week we had EOC. So really, it's more from the teacher side of it. It's a chance for us to give assignments, give things for the kids to kind of get caught up in class. But really, it's the main purpose is for testing.
Okay. I went through AP, and there was no virtual AP testing on my time. It was literally was like, you got to show up, and it's like, okay, do I really have to fill out all 19 pages of this AP history exam? Yes.
Yeah. The kids come in to test, but yeah.
What has it been like getting ready from a semifinal, getting ready for the last match of the season? We were there with you to see you advance to this particular point of the season, number 1 versus number 2. What's it been like?
I've tried to keep this week as normal as possible. We practiced Monday and Tuesday, took Wednesday off, and then came out yesterday and had our official last practice of the season. Got the goals taken down, the nets taken off, all that kind of good stuff. Ran our ceremonial last gasser. The girls, that's our big conditioning thing early in the season. So we did one little last time for them. And, something, a tradition I started back for our first championship run. Every game or the practice before the next game, a senior would do a drill. Okay. So the last drill was done by Presley Freeman. She gave us our drill yesterday. And so that's kind of what we know. It's very light. Practice is very light. I mean, at this point, it's there's not any special drill that we're going to do that's going to help us get over the top to win that game. It's just a matter of being healthy and being in the right state of mind, and ultimately just being mentally prepared for it.
When it comes to going up against a team like Buford, number 1 versus number 2, all the hype that's attached, obviously tape is out there. How much study hall do you and the team do on Buford? How much do you do on yourselves? And do you pull anything out of the back of the playbook that you might not have used at all this season, or are you the kind of guy that condenses what you think about when you're chasing after games this late in the year?
Well, honestly, as far as film goes, I do a lot of film watching, but I don't watch film with my girls. I think film watching with players is highly overrated, just to be honest with you. I learned a long time ago as a football coach. I was at Clark Central High School, and Coach Steve Brooks was the head coach. And I was a young coach, and I was like, "Hey, coach, let's audibilize some plays and get the quarterback." He's like, "Coach Gall, listen, these are 17-year-old kids. I spend all weekend long, all week watching a film study. I'm not going to let a 17-year-old make a decision on that field, to win or lose a game for us. I'm going to make the decision." So that philosophy made a lot of sense to me, even though I was young. So, I spend time watching film, trying to get insights to what they're doing. And my job as the coach is to relay that information to the girls. Teenagers' mind, they're not going to watch film for the right reason, the right way. They're going to see things that are not going to help them have success. They're going to see what the girl's wearing or how she fell down, or they're not really watching the film like they're supposed to. So, like I said, I don't do it with them. I do it myself, and then I take the information that I get and take it to practice.
When it comes to your American football FOOTBALL coaching, how did that help you with the FUTBOL coaching? How does one help the other?
Well, structurally, the way we practice in football, American football, we pretty much break it down: fundamentals, group work, and then teamwork. Same kind of philosophy with us. So every day at practice, we do a basic possession type drill, a 10-minute possession type drill. That's our fundamentals. We'll work on corner kicks every single day. It's just 10 minutes every day working corners. And then we go into some kind of group activity, some kind of short-sided game or just something like that, a shooting drill or something. And then we'll go into our team stuff. So, and then also with assistant coaches, I'll divide the team into 2 groups. So one coach will have a team for 5 minutes in a drill. Other group will be with other coach 5 minutes in a drill, and then we'll switch. So I'm a big believer in getting as many reps as possible. I don't want girls standing around watching and waiting their turn to shoot. If we can get a drill in 5 minutes and they get 10 shots off compared to, spending 10 minutes in drill and getting 3 shots because they're waiting for their turn, I think it's a more effective use of time to divide them up and let coaches kind of handle drills and then switch them up. So that kind of carries over football the way it's a different way of looking things. Soccer coaches that have done nothing but soccer, that's all they know are those soccer plans and practice schedules. And same with football. I've been lucky enough to do both sports and study both sports and study, the way coaches do things. And I've kind of, picked the things I like for both. I actually used to do stuff in football when the hardest thing for a football coach is to get a quality scout team look, right? So what I did one year is I had my varsity defense would be in the middle of the field. They would bounce back and forth to get a look instead of having 2 huddles go at them. But that concept came from what I did in soccer. So, I've been lucky in the fact that I've had the ability or the chance to coach both and taken stuff from both sports and utilize in those areas.
Yeah, and because you can sit there, and I think that especially today, the student athlete has that. You mentioned getting, 10 shots in 5 versus 10 shots in 3 or whatever, the rapidity and making sure that they're engaged the entire time and they're not thinking about other things. It's like, well, I could be at the store at 5:30. I got to get some shopping done. They're always locked into the experience to where there is no wasted motion when it comes.
That's the key. And especially with girls. I mean, girls are going to they're going to be, off track a little bit and get talking and all that kind of good stuff if you don't keep them going and keep them engaged. So that's really the main focus is get them involved, get them moving, just repetition, and eventually it sinks in for them. It was funny because I was at practice the other day, and one of my girls, we were doing a drill. We make certain runs when, I have rules, and that's another thing football-wise. There's rules for me in soccer. If the ball's played to your feet wing, this is what you're doing. So they're not having to think out there. They know. We do the same runs every time the wing gets the ball. She does this wing does that. And we were after practice, and I was walking by one of my players, and I was like, why do you think we do this over? She said, oh, yeah, coach, that makes sense now. This is like the last game of the season, and it finally sinks into her why we do it. It's like, yeah, I don't want you to think. I want you, when the ball comes to you, know what to do. Soccer people are always talking about making good decisions. Well, for me as a coach, I want to, they have to make the decision, but I want to give them a few choices, and the less number of choices they have, the more efficient we're going to be and the better decision they're actually going to make. So
Luke Winstall coming up at the bottom of the hour after we wrap up our conversation with Jason Galt. He's kind of busy today. He's got a matchup chasing after a state championship against Buford. What is it like having the bullseye not only on your chest, but on your chest and on your back all season long?
Well, we tell every pregame talk, we're out in the field, we go under the goal, and we do our little spill with them. And I tell every girl, every game, this is their state championship. The team we're playing would love nothing more than to beat y'all, because this is going to be the hot. If they can beat you and knock you guys off, it's like winning the state for you. So that's got to be your mentality. And then once we got in the playoffs, I told them every single game is a state championship game, because if you lose, you're done. So that's been our mentality. You have to be able to deal with that success, and you have to be able to compartmentalize it and understand and just feel and realize how big it is and how important what you're doing is and how other teams want to knock you off. So I'm a big believer in the middle part of the game. So we do a lot of that kind of visualization, talking, routine, just rituals, that kind of stuff.
Jim Valvano, and I would, recommend to anyone who has not to watch the 30 for 30 Survive in advance. When it comes to visualization, he visualized, and he did this with his team, about cutting down the nets for a championship. And he made sure that they understood that they could do something like that. It's like, okay, you can win a championship. A lot of folks from the outside may sit there and may not think so, but we're going to visualize, and we're actually going to go down in our gym and cut the nets down so you understand that feeling of what it's like to win a championship. Do you have those kind of end of season moments or visualizations when it comes to your club?
Yeah, actually, so the first championship we won in 21, every breakdown was state. We always said state, but we never did it on the field before a game. It was always in the locker room. So that was our little tradition there. The next year, every breakdown was back-to-back. Same thing. It was always in the locker room after practice, but never on the field of the game. This year, from the very first practice of tryouts, our breakdown was May 10th. And that's every time we break down, it's May 10th. Practice, field, game. It was always – so that was that. And, of course, the girls, early on, I said, why May 10th? Well, coach, so that's when the championship game is. Yeah, exactly. So – and another thing for me personally, I was just talking to a coach this morning about this. As a matter of fact, he was asking, what do you do mentally? What's your mindset? He said, well, me personally, I visualize all the positive things happening. I visualize the girls celebrating in the field, but it's hard because the negative thoughts start creeping in your mind. You have these negative, and as soon as a negative thought gets in my mind, I got to push it out. I can't think about it because I don't want to put that negative thought into the atmosphere. I don't want to put it out there. So for me, it's all positivity. It's all success. If I feel a thought coming in, I got to push it out because I don't want to think about the negatives. I don't want to think about the positives. So
that seems difficult at times.
It's very difficult.
Because if you want to stay locked in what could be, part of what could be is a negative.
Yes.
And you have to figure out a way to navigate the negative to focus on that positive. That's not to be able to push that stuff to the side, man. That seems like that's got to be a hard thing to do.
It's mental. It's all mental. It's just you can feel the thought coming because you think about. See, I'm driving my truck to work. I start thinking about stuff and thinking about this, and then that negative thought starts creeping in, and no, get out. I don't want to see you right now. I don't want to know what if. All thing I'm focused on is we're going to win this game. We're going to hold that trophy. So.
Because there is one letter in difference between what is and what if. Literally, it's that one letter that is the difference here between what could be and what you don't want to have happen. Has there been anything this season that has surprised you about this bunch, knowing what your expectations are?
That's a great question. The surprise me, honestly, is the depth that we have. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that we have as many quality. We have talent. There's no doubt. West Forsyth is going to always have talent. But philosophically, in the past, I've never done a lot of subbing. I've found my top 11 players, and I might have one or two subs, but I pretty much play the best players. Well, this year, I purposely divided time up, not evenly, but a certain girl, like for instance tonight, every 18 of my 21 girls should play at least 26 minutes tonight.
Wow.
That's my, and it's worked all season long. And there was one game I didn't do it. It was for the third round game against North Paulding, and we won that game 3-1. Then after the game, there was, and I might have told you this, I don't know, but there was no, they weren't happy. Like some girls were down about it. Like, we just won third round of the playoffs with 3-1. This is awesome. But I decided before that game to play my top players more and everybody else a little less. Well, that's not what we've done all year long. All year long we were undefeated, and I'm playing girls a certain amount of time. So I told them, I said, girls, you know what? Doesn't matter. Semifinals, we're going back to exactly how we got here, doing it this way. That's how we're going to do it. So that's been surprising, the fact that I can sub this year like I've been subbing and still have the same quality of players, because they know when they get out there, their 13 minutes are out there. They better go as hard as they can, because that's going to be a contribution to the team. That's been, for me, the biggest surprise, is finding that depth.
What are you anticipating tonight from Buford? What concerns you the most? I'm going to go in. I'm going to take the S and F at the end of what is and what if, and apply that here. What concerns you the most about Buford tonight?
Well, everything. They're big. They're physical. They got a couple of girls that are really good in the air. If you give them time on the ball, they're gonna just slice you up. They're very clinical. They great passer. They're a solid team. So we have to pressure them. We can't let them settle 50-50 balls and have time to find an open person. We've got to keep pressure on them. And I'm hoping that subbing like I do is going to allow us to keep that pressure up and not get tired. Because it's going to be 78 degrees come kickoff. It'll be a little breezy, but it's still warm. So hopefully we're able to sub and keep those girls fresh. And all year long, I told the girls we've been a second half team. So hopefully that'll stay true tonight.
There was a college basketball coach at Arkansas back when you and I were younger, and we know who we're talking about, because what he used to do, he would do X number of minutes of HE double hockey sticks. Is that what you're kind of looking at here tonight, where with all of the subbing and the fire wagon change and everybody to keep that pressure up the entire time?
That's exactly it. Yes. And it's worked, because once again, the quality of players that we have here at West, everybody can't have that philosophy. There's some teams that got 12 really good players and they can make a deep run in the playoffs. We've got 18 really good players. I have about 5 girls that'll play pretty much the whole game. But other than that, everybody else, the other, like I said, I should have 18 girls tonight, if everything goes as planned, that play at least 26 minutes in the state championship game. So that's going, of course, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Yes.
So we'll see. But that's the plan going into it.
Buford and West Forsyth, 5 o'clock at Duluth, NFHS Network, or be there in person to see number 1 versus number 2. My last question for you is one of the last questions I had with Coach Torres. It's the make that kid an offer question.
Sure.
We know that there are some players that are going to play at the next level. Are there folks there at West Forsyth, whether they're rising seniors after this season, seniors now, that for whatever reason they aren't getting the looks or the quality of looks that you think? Who would fit make that kid an offer for you?
I've got one. So first of all, we've had several. I've had Alabama come, Tennessee come. We've had several big colleges, and that doesn't happen very often. These big-time college coaches come to a high school game. So they've come because we got a player that's on the national team. She's really good. She's a sophomore. I understand it. And she's a great player. But we have another girl, my leading scorer this year. She's a junior, Abby Batts. And she already has a great opportunity. She's going to UAB, and that's a great school, a great opportunity for her. And I'm so happy for her, because that's a great chance. But I really think she's a top player. You're going to watch her tonight. She has 27 goals this year, and she's, I think, 7 away from being our all-time leading scorer. She's been starting. She's a freshman, so she won a state championship her freshman year. She's a quality player, and I'm hoping that after tonight, I think she's going to put a show on and hopefully kind of get some of those bigger schools interested. But yeah, she's happy. Don't get me wrong. I've talked to her about this. She's totally happy with UAB. It's a great situation for her. Those coaches love her. She loves UAB. But I think as a coach watching her play all these years, I think she's definitely somebody that I would look at in that situation that you're talking about.
Looking forward to it tonight. Number 1 versus number 2, Buford and West Forsyth, 5 o'clock. And you got lunch to get to, and you got travel and all that kind of stuff. Coach Jason Galt, great to catch up with you all season long here, whether we're in person calling matches here on In Session, getting you out of class and getting you out of virtual. Good luck. Be safe. Have a great match tonight. Jason and Justin Hanover will be there for the NFHS Network. Catch up soon, my friend. Thanks for
John. Thank you, sir. All right, take care.
You bet. There goes Coach Galt, and he's got stuff to focus on. like other stuff not involving talking to us. But no, thanks to our friends at West Forsyth for dropping by and letting us kind of pick his brain. It's great to be able to get all of these things that we get from Coach Galt all season long. So thanks to him. And thanks to all the coaches, really, that have been with us all season long, getting all of the intel. And, obviously, number 1 versus number 2 tonight, Buford and West Forsyth, Justin Hanover and Jason Longshore. They're going to be going hammer and tong for 7A girls, 5 o'clock, Duluth High School. If you're anywhere near Duluth, go watch this matchup, number 1 versus number 2. 2 heavyweights in 7A girls, followed by 7A boys. It is Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain. And definitely great to find out what's going on all across the board with these programs as we get ready for what's going on. And the last matches of the season, last matches of the year, and looking forward to it here. It's been great to be able to see what's going on all season long, and just to be able to be in all the different venues and see what's up when it comes to the number 3 sport, the number 3 state when it comes to FOOTBALL and FUTBOL. So it's been really cool to be able to do this all season long, thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente and somebody who's been flying around the planet. And I mean that both figuratively and literally, Luke Winstall. Luke, all right, so how many of the matches, how many matchups have you either called or produced this week?
Total of 6, called 4, and now produced 2.
Okay.
2 more today to produce.
Okay, so you're going to be with Justin and Jason today for the 7As at 5 and 30 minutes after the completion of the 5 o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry, it just cut out there.
No, we can't have that.
We're good now. Could you repeat that first part? I just want to make sure I answer the right question.
No, just making sure that you're going to be with Jason and Justin for the 7As tonight.
I will be. 7A over at Duluth. Super pumped up about it. And then we've got, of course, the 5 and 7:30 game times, like you mentioned. Pregame starts a couple minutes before. And then with the production, obviously, just making sure we get good graphics up and get everything set so that everybody looking at home gets everything they need to see and gets all the angles right. So glad to do it.
Yep. We had Jason Galt, the head coach of West Forsyth, on before you, and he got to break things down with number 1 versus number 2, Buford and West Forsyth. What are you staring at with Wolves and Wolverines today?
Yeah, right now, I mean, you look at 7A, it's one of those where for me, I was like, shoot, got a nice A-team call in the game with Justin Hanover, who I grew up watching him call Silverbacks games back when I was real little. So that was something that I've known him.
Back when I was real little.
Well, I mean, gosh, we're talking probably over 15 years ago, right? Or about 15 years ago.
Sure, yeah, 10 maybe. So, yeah, something like that, 10, 12, yeah. When I was little, you make me feel like I'm 107 years old, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing for me growing up, like, Silverbacks Park is like 2 exits down from where I grew up. So 07, 08, like I still have the magnet schedules and stuff. So those years for me were fun to watch. So getting to work with him and of course Jason, who's just the GOAT, I like to call him, just incredible. And
yes,
you know how fun that is. So working with them for me, I'm like, okay, heavyweight matchups, anything I can do to get into these 7A games. So right now, my knowledge of the team's a little more surface level in terms of the breakdown. I like to kind of have the stuff built out for graphics and then kind of fill in on the rest. So can't say I've done as much of the coach interviews as they have on that side, but obviously expecting a heavy matchup, the top 10 teams, everything that you see for these types of games, but ready to just build it out and make sure that everything on screen shows the way it needs to. And I know we'll have some good games.
And then after that one, 30 minutes after the completion, if anybody says that they had Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain as their final, I'm going to call them fibbing fibbers, because I don't think any of us, short of outside of the Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain environments, had Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain for the last match of the year.
No, I wouldn't have had it either. You look at 7A in Georgia, and it's just such a dynamic league, and those are teams that maybe coming in I was watching, but even not squads that I've maybe circled in red in this bracket. So that's part of the interesting bit. Even like with Decatur last night, the underdog story of being the lower seed that makes it into the championship game. Those were exciting ones to watch. And to me, sometimes when you have those unknowns, we've seen times throughout the games, I've noticed this week, and Jason made a note of it yesterday, sometimes when you're not the top seed or you're not as used to the pressure that comes with that in these environments, as the crowds rile you up, we saw some tempo where it started to get a little too frenetic, or a team needed to calm down and settle in. So I'll be interested to see how composed each of these squads can be, given that they weren't the big time favorite coming in. They weren't having to be mentally prepped in that different way.
You mentioned McIntosh and Decatur. We'll start there and we'll work our way backward to the other matchups that you've had a part in. McIntosh and Decatur. Decatur came all the way in as a 4 seed, and they went on the road. They beat Cass to get into the finals, and they, Coach Derek Burgess, he's just like, yeah, okay, we're a 4 seed. That's cool. And going up against a heavyweight against McIntosh. From what Jason told me, the whistle seemed to be the most prevalent noise that was heard in that matchup yesterday.
It was choppy, and I think part of it too with officiating, we didn't see a yellow card for a long time until that second half. And that to me was something where it allowed a style of play that lots of fouls. There was not the quick yellow for excessive fouling, or, hey, we've got to draw the line here. So because of the way that, and that's a thing too with the officials, a lot of times you say, hey, let the guys play. They let them play. And that was something that did impact the flow of the game for sure. We were always looking up and there's a call, there's this. And we saw some cards late and the game stayed in relative control, I would say. So that was props to the referee crew for that one. But yeah, that game got pretty chippy. We saw, of course, with Decatur, like Derek Burgess was my club coach throughout high school. So to me, I was like, probably a good thing I'm not calling this one, because he was one of the coaches that I credit with pushing me to not just be content or be okay with stuff, pushing me to be above average and great. So I know with his players, kind of what he does and the way that he expects so much out of them. I think in terms of what happened with conceding the goals in the first half, the second one on the free kick was just an unfortunate detail of the wall. Jessica was making some notes of, hey, I'm not sure about the personnel, or I'm not sure that this looks right. And then you see free kick buried outside the wall into the corner in front of the post. And it was like, that was a tough break. That ended up being the difference. Decatur had a lot of close chances. I don't think I would say throughout the game they were the better team, but there were big stretches in the game where, okay, they're attacking better, they're holding the ball better, they're creating more dangerous opportunities. There's a chance you could say they were better in the second half, and they kept themselves in the game very well. So big credit to them. They weren't expected to win. They were the underdog. But McIntosh, a team that came in and especially in the first 10 or so minutes, I think did a great job of making sure that Decatur, as the underdog, couldn't get some wind in their sails.
Yeah.
To have that, like, oh yeah, we can hang with them. They immediately have the goal and say, hey, we're McIntosh, 22 wins. This is what we're here to do, and relying on some star players to do it as well. So to me, it was, they got out early. They did the details a little bit better. Decatur had the late goal with about 13 minutes to go, but ended up being too little too late. And McIntosh, big credit to them. They played a physical style. They overall came out really strong. And I think the way that they came into the game was the difference there.
GAC in Cambridge was the girls' game before that one, and that set everybody's schedules back because that one took a while. And I mean, it was a great work from GAC. Yes, we need to be properly hydrated on the show. We don't want any stumbles. But I mean, this one took a while, and you've really got a feel for the Cambridge keeper, especially in PKs.
Oh gosh. And this is something everybody in the press box looks at me when these games go to overtime, John, because now
I am the producer.
Well, it doesn't matter what role I'm in, play-by-play. Color,
okay. So they blame you even when you're play-by-play. Okay.
The problem with me is every year we always have overtime, and it's always when I'm there. And it seems like Jason and Jessica, when they're doing games with other people or other stuff, they're fine. But then as soon as I get on the set, no matter what the role is, I was shocked we didn't have overtime at Mercer on Tuesday when Jessica was there with us, because it just always seems that way. So even the PA announcer had heard about this, and he comes in, he's like, this is your fault. So you can blame me for the overtime if that messed up your schedule. That's what everyone else is doing. But we saw that game, and it was one where GAC in the first half I thought was clearly the better team. They possessed the ball. They were knocking it around. Seemed like they had it their way. Then all of a sudden, you have Cambridge get this one moment, and it was like, wait a minute. They're building forward. All of a sudden, get a good strike about around the edge of the 18-yard box, and then it was just taking advantage of that one moment. Second half was more defensive. GAC didn't dominate in the second the way they did in the first. I think the goal kind of woke up the team. So when you look at 1-1, it was like, oh man. And then overtime, the thing with GHSA, with some of these not having golden goal, I think sometimes you almost make it to where you're playing for PKs in a way. I didn't see the urgency that maybe we would have had if it was a golden goal game.
Yeah.
The overtime, it was like, okay, getting a little tired. It wasn't super hot, but by that point in the game, we felt pretty clearly that this was going to penalties. Then you go to PKs, and GAC just executed better at the end of the day. They were making their penalties, and there were some unlucky ones on the Cambridge side. And in that, eventually, you almost hate to see a champion decided that way, but after you play 100 minutes of soccer, you say, well, that it's what you got. And to me, the penalty kick shootout from GAC didn't try to do too much, kept a lot of their shots pretty simple. And I think for Cambridge, we had a few shots that were angled up or trying to be maybe a little fancy toward the post, which I don't mind. That's what I like to do in penalty shootouts. But it just felt like GAC in that moment understood, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to our spots, low in the corners, make the goalie work. And it was just the type of execution you get, both sides well coached, but GAC, I think, a little more ready for that moment, and saw them pull out the win. It was an entertaining game to watch, long game to watch, but we've got our champion.
100 minutes plus PKs. And then you and the new graduate from Kennesaw State University, our Maddie Cruz, the two of you got to go to 5-star and watch Fellowship Christian Mount Perrin, dominant performance by Fellowship. And then Toombs County over Model for the first ever. We had Jeremy Moore on yesterday on Thursday. Now, we had him on the Thursday show. He had gotten like 3 hours of sleep, understandably so. When you look back at Fellowship, Mount Perrin, Toombs, and Model, what sticks out?
Yeah, those games to me, Fellowship Christian, dominant performance. It was one where for Mount Perrin, we were trying to figure out how to tell the fans, like, this is a really, really good team, but they just weren't seeing much of the ball. So from the commentary perspective, it was a little hard. I was trying to make sure that we didn't sound crazy. Like, hey, Mount Perrin's an awesome team, but this is really just showing how good Fellowship was and how ready they were going back to back there, because we saw in the first half, one of the things Maddie pointed out a lot of was the 4-5-1 that Mount Perrin was playing, and their striker, Jane Monticello, is pretty isolated. So when they would get the ball, they'd clear it or send it up, but Fellowship would immediately snuff it out and then keep the pressure on. So the ball was mostly in that half, and Mount Perrin had some good defensive performances, but when you're defending for almost a full 80 minutes, there's going to be mistakes. And we saw moments where Fellowship was just able to dominate. We saw a couple with, I want to say it was Paulson, really racking up assists, 3 assists, 2 goals. Avery Paulson, she was our player of the game, and we saw her take it to the corner, serve it, and have teammates punching it in. And then we saw her hit a straightaway shot. And those, to me, that kind of a performance from the Liberty commit is something that you need a superstar to step up in a state championship game. And she had seemingly all the answers there. So Fellowship, not just a one-man show by any means, but fueled by play from a superstar, having Elphick, who's committed to Georgia, come in and score a goal that started to feel like the dagger as things started to get out of hand. That was an impressive accomplishment. And on the flip side, Toombs County Model, we had a feeling we would see some goals. We did. With Toombs County, I think the impressive part was how good their back line was, and seeing that they're able to play a high line, get a couple of offside calls early on. And then after that, it felt like they'd established their rhythm so well. Model did get in behind and score the one time that we saw. But outside of that, it felt like Model would have these moments where they're getting dangerous, but then as soon as they got toward the attacking third, it was like absolutely locked down. It was good communication. I think Cruz at center back did a really good job for Toombs County, helping out on each side, so keeping the goalie clean. So when they transitioned forward, one of the interesting things about Toombs County was they were pretty creative. They had some guys that could go from range, but to me, the number of options that they brought to the table, the number of different scores that you have to account for was really tough. The midfield was borderline invincible, winning balls left and right, serving the ball, knowing when to speed up the tempo, when to do certain things. They had a great feel for the game. Players like Leon, for example, and the pink cleats down there. You look down, you see pink cleats, and then it seemed like he was always so composed on the ball. He knew when to pass back, when to distribute forward. He was one of the people that almost single-handedly determined the tempo and the flow of the game. And when you have midfielders that you really trust and that you trust on the ball, he knew, okay, go forward. They had a couple of strikers that worked really hard, the high work rate. Guys like Morales, for example, he'd come in and he's just sprinting all over, and they'd give him a break, and then he'd come in and do the same thing. So that team, to me, seemed like they really had it together. They knew their style of play. They executed well and really owned the game against the team that, in Model, about 100 goal scorer on the season. I really thought we'd see a little more. I didn't know that we'd see a win from Model. It was one of those toss-up games coming in. You weren't sure, but I did think we would see more goal scoring, and it's a big credit to Toombs County. So I was really impressed with what we saw. That was one of the most entertaining games I think we've had so far.
At Luke Winstall on the Twitters. And for those that don't know, when Luke is not hanging out with folks like us doing football, FUTBOL, this man during, yes, stay properly hydrated. Yes, get the protein shake going. Just don't get a spit take on your gear. That would not go over well.
No, we'll be fine.
For those that don't know, when he's not doing FUTBOL, Luke gets to go and hang out and cover FOOTBALL. And he is definitely one in the recruiting circles. So when you get into the time of year that's not soccer, he's talking to folks and recruits and football and all this kind of stuff. Let me ask you this. Of the performances that you saw on the weekend, if you were the recruiting version of you, who would you sit there and say, okay, you need to focus on these dudes? Who were Luke's standouts on the weekend? And it can be offensive, defensive, between the sticks. Like I said, the matches that you saw, who were your standouts? Who would be on the Luke Winstall starting however many deep you want to go here for the week?
Very interesting question. Okay, well, while we're talking about,
you can write them down and sit there and fill out an 11 as we go, and then post it on your social media after the 7A game. So we're giving you material, man. That's what we're here for.
Hey, I love it. I'll start kind of with 2A. We saw some good talent there in the 1A games. I would say, I'm thinking for GMC, we've got a couple of guys. I'll come back to that. I've got the Toombs County sheet in front of me here. I would say Giovanni Zamorano, I thought, was really impressive for Toombs County. He did have the goal, but somebody that I think has a little bit of flair to his game, has a good left foot as well. So that's something, I was a lefty, so I always give guys credit when they can rifle balls into goal with the left foot. And we saw
Amen, brother, right there with you.
Jose Leon, the senior, to me, like I said, in the midfield, really possessed it well. So that's somebody that I think at some level can really come in and be a contributor. I think, who else did I like here in this game? Maybe for the next level. There's a difference, of course, between liking guys at the high school level and then on beyond that.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
That to me, let's see.
Okay, so you've got that. And
Those
like I
are
said,
some of the guys.
you can go back to day one where you were hanging out with Jess and go. You can add Aquinas, Lake Oconee, Atco, GMC, Fellowship, Mount Perrin, Toombs, Model, and the guys that you've seen so far. Seriously,
Yeah.
line them all up.
Okay, I'm thinking we saw a really good performance from Tommy Carty for GMC, and he was one that, as a sophomore, we're looking at their goal scoring, not just numbers, but records, and he's already tied the single-season record. Sherwood over there, Brian Sherwood, the senior as well, is another guy that I think finishes really well. Some of his individual efforts were great. I don't know about recruiting him, though, because he is going to go on a mission, Church of Latter-day Saints 2-year mission in Argentina.
Sounds like BYU might be a place for him to go.
That might be a good spot. So it's someone, if you recruit him, not for now, but for a little later.
Okay.
So I'm really looking at some of the guys that we saw star in these games or have moments where they took over in the game. So those are a few of the thoughts I'm looking through.
And like I said, and you can have it as both a boys and girls 11. It doesn't have to be just a boys 11 and a girls 11. You can blend it and have an all-star team here. So you got 4. Give me 7 more. Who was the best keeper that you saw?
Ooh, good question. See, I liked Jose De Leon from Atkinson County a good bit, but he didn't have the best performance.
Okay.
I like him, long arms, big body, seemed like he commanded his line well. When he came out with such authority. So it's those things to me, especially in the lower classifications, that was impressive. But let's see. He was impressive, but did concede a few times, not all his fault. So we'll see. We'll see how we are on that.
Keeper for Cambridge? See, I'm getting you to nod, so you're kind of you're processing.
I'm in the middle here.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, Lake and Dancause, of course, from Model. Some of these are kind of obvious, like the big name guys that are being recruited, and some of it is as much as just like, okay. For me, for example, in football, when we see guys eye test, we're like, okay, these guys are highly rated. What do we think? And sometimes you just walk out there, you're like, yep. Okay, I get it. Like, John being down there on the sidelines with GPB in some of the games, it's like spot the Power 5 guy. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, that was simple. And then they make some plays and you're like, I see how that projects. And sometimes you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to nitpick. Things like Caleb Williams in the NFL draft. Everyone wants to nitpick a number 1 overall pick, but sometimes it's just a good player and a good pick.
Okay.
So those are some of the ones from Model. Now on the girls' side, I thought Fellowship Christian absolutely has next level talent. And one of the things too at Fellowship as well was the Mercer women's soccer head coach, Tony Economopoulos, was there. And there were about 4 Fellowship players that were hoping to have an opportunity to play at Mercer.
Oh, Tony, Tony E was trying to lock in that one immediately.
And there were hopefully a few, obviously we don't ask the specifics to coaches on that, but seeing him there, he was camped out in the press box, had the notebook, and he was set and ready to go like an hour before the game started. So it seemed like something that he took pretty seriously, having a chance to evaluate.
Who do I talk to Luke Winstall about when his match is over? I just have this vision of Tony in the press box, the 5-star going, okay, this one. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it was. So I'm looking at, obviously, Lily Kate Elphick, for example, going to Georgia. Right. She actually came in off the bench, so it was something where, okay, it wasn't in the starting lineup and then comes in on the left wing, and all of a sudden, immediately, you feel the impact. She becomes a target on those balls and a taller player, someone that had a really high pressure opportunity in front of goal and was able to just tuck it in the left side corner exactly as you're coached to do. So to me, showed a little bit of that killer finishing instinct as well. And looking at that, I still think maybe the best performance we've seen individually from either girls or boys is Avery Paulson. Just the assist numbers, the goal numbers. She's going to Liberty.
For now,
yeah. I don't know how locked in things are because of how late we are in the year, but committed to Liberty. And that, to me, probably the best individual showing. Decatur last night, I'm trying to remember the name. Their forward, so quick, such quick feet, I would say.
The young sophomore?
I think so. Had the blonde hair, the light hair.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I heard this name a million times last night. Oh man. But let's see. Yeah.
So you're just all over.
I'm working on some names here. The biggest thing to me is like, gosh, make sure you don't leave anybody off here. Like,
no, but that's what, like I said, but that's why you do the Luke Winstall starting 11, and then you can sit there and go, and
mix it around a bit.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted. I was thinking you sit there and you go boys and girls, but you got Isaac Klein, the sophomore for Decatur.
Klein. Yep, it's Klein. Exactly.
Yeah. So Isaac Klein, who's a sophomore, and he's just putting up some crazy numbers this season of 51 points total. If you look at twos and ones and figure out what to do. But Isaac Klein, the sophomore, then you had Kimball Bryant, who was averaging a little over a goal a game for Decatur as well. So, yeah, that's your homework assignment. So after the 7A matches, come up with the Luke Winstall all-tournament starting 11 and post it to social, and then do like an honorable mention of folks that you got to see, considering that you got to see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10. Wait, no, it's 1. So 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. You'll have seen 12 of the teams chasing after titles by the time that this tournament's over. You'll have had a good base of the Luke Winstall starting 11 of folks I got to see. That's your homework assignment.
And one more, like Liam Newton-Smith from McIntyre.
Yes.
It would be malpractice if I left him off. So have to say that as well. I'm looking through. I'm like trying to cover 8 rosters here, and
Hey, it's, like I said, I just wanted to get you
wait a minute.
started, so this way you can post the Luke Winstall all tournament 11 when it's all over with a second team or an honorable mention as well.
Yeah. So those are some of like the obvious names that come off the top of my head. There's going to be a few more that I'll have to think about. Of okay, let's battle it out for goalie. That is the toughest question that you've asked, because we've seen some good saves, good performances, but I'm a little stuck because I haven't had someone really blow me away yet, but we've seen a lot of really good performances.
But if you include the keeper from Atco, even though it was in a losing cause, then I could completely understand seeing something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I mean, I kind of like some of the projection and some of the tools, but I think in terms of like on-field performance, I think we've seen a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to like write out my pros and cons, because like we've knocked out the easy stuff, but the hard ones that I'm gonna have to debate, I'm like, oh, okay, I need I need a sheet of paper.
Yeah. So, well, then that's what you do. You get your sheet of paper, you go to Duluth, you hang out with Justin and Jason, and you go sit there and go, Nelson gave me the impossible. He needs me to do an all-tournament starting 11 plus an honorable mention, and that way you can get them to help you out as well. So when today is over for you, you head back into the world of the FOOTBALL, right?
Not quite. I will see you Saturday for Atlanta United.
True.
Big home match.
That's true.
So I'll have that. Football is definitely something I'm working on, but right now covering the Clemson beat, we're waiting on them to expand their board a little bit in recruiting. They don't offer many guys, so they have not offered any juniors yet, and they'll offer them at the end of the month. And as soon as that happens, then I'll be back going crazy. But for now, it's pretty clear of who the top targets are and kind of where things stand in that market. So right now, I get a good chance to really go into soccer, and then I'm working on a couple of other things and hopefully working to try to get onto the Copa America communication staff for this year as well. So fingers crossed with that. That's one of the big processes I'm working on. So that's the big hope for me. Like, I love football and I love soccer. I cover them both a lot, but soccer to me is something that I'll graduate in December from Georgia, and I'm looking for a full-time career. And I'm really liking how soccer's grown in this area and how the market's grown. And to me, I'm like, this is what I played growing up. This is what I love football, but this to me is something that I'm like, hey, if I get a chance as it's growing and expanding, this is the time, and I'm really trying to get into it.
Understood. At Luke Winstall on the Twitters. Thank you, my friend, for staying hydrated and postponing the physical side, the actual bulk side of lunch until after we were done. Good luck. May everything stick to the cards and the tape today, and everything be transmitted out from Duluth as you do the 7As and you produce them for Justin Hanover and our buddy Jason. So have great calls, have great matches. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, there's Luke. And so Luke is one of the busiest dudes. And literally, it's like I turn and I see Luke at a place that I don't anticipate seeing Luke. Like literally, he goes and he was integral with us with our Women's World Cup coverage, and dragging classmates in to do shows with us on the morning show, hopping in at like 9:05, and that was like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning when they're getting back to the hotel and things like that. But no, major props to Luke Winstall, one of the hardest working dudes around. And he put up with my questions for a half hour. That is a season of Soccer is in Session live, and presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente at KP Georgia on the 280 character app. Thanks for hanging out with us every single day of the playoffs. We got to talk to coaches all around the state. We got to set up matches. We got to catch up with all the play-by-play voices that we could grab and walk our way through the championships. If you're near Duluth High School today, 5 o'clock, 7:30, you'll see Luke, you'll see Justin, you'll see Jason. Buford, West Forsyth, it was great to catch up with head coach Jason Galt and get his perspectives on what it's like number 1 versus number 2. Campbell and Kennesaw Mountain, 30 minutes after the conclusion of that one. That's the boys' final on the 7A side, and we'll talk about it on Monday on SDH as we get to the other side of the season here at the GHSA. Thanks to the GHSA as well, letting us carry our match days to match day 34, and great to see everybody around the state. Thanks to all the schools, all the ADs, all the coaches, all the players that we got to talk to all season long. It's been great to do Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. And we're not done talking stuff, but enjoy the 7A matches today. And NFHSnetwork.com is where you can watch. It's worth the subscription, trust me, especially, you can do it for like $12 a month. You can do it for like, I think, $70 a year. And you get everything opened up to you when it comes to the high school game, when it comes to the NFHS network. You can watch it today. You can get a day pass. You can get a month pass for $12. Cancel at any time. Trust me, I've looked at it. I know. So for everybody here at SDH, it's another go-round of Soccer's in Session Live. Enjoy the matches this afternoon and tonight in 7A at Duluth. If you can go, be there, even if you don't have an alignment to Buford, Kennesaw Mountain, Campbell, or West Forsyth. Last championships of the year in the sport of soccer. Thanks to a great season covering it. On the high school side, we're not done yet, but those are the last 2 matches of the year where trophies will be determined. For everybody here at SDH, thanks for hanging out with us. Play it safe, everybody. Since it's the end of the show, mucha plata, y'all. That means we get to do this. Enjoy the matches. We'll catch up with you on Monday.